Eskin.
And we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking. And here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city, house, or state without permission, or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on, we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Karis Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you everybody for your time and considerations. And thank you for all the support. And we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Karis Project podcast. Today we have with us Tanya Thevenet. Did I say that right?
Thevenet.
Okay. Close, but not quite. But she is a targeted individual from the state of Tennessee who's had a pretty terrible experience going on with her going for some time. And she's going to tell us about it. And we also have Stephanie Henson, who is hosting with me today. So, Tanya, can you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Hi, guys. I'm Tanya. I'm from Tennessee. I'm a targeted individual. I have been for many years and looking forward to share the information I have with you guys, hoping it can help.
Oh, sorry. Yes, got to turn my mic on. So tell us a little bit. How long ago did this targeting start? What what's been happening? Kind of take us back to the beginning, because yeah.
All right. In 2013, I started hearing V2K and feeling just strange things throughout the body. Didn't quite understand what it was.
Okay,
My
just
six,
let me
go ahead.
let me let me just kind of B2K for our audience. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, that is voice to skull.
Okay, and this is a
It's
technology that they have patented. There are actually patents for this that are on the public record for anyone to go and see. Go ahead.
my 6-year-old son was sexually assaulted by a weapon that I'd never seen before until I was lucky enough to find a photo of it. Um, it was on another young man's head, and he was being interviewed by police. And I thought, well, that's odd. Why would it be on a victim that just got arrested? And he had just been arrested for killing his classmate. Um, Same weapon. And I had I had been raped for 15 and a half hours. Um, I'm not 100% sure if it was an electronic rape or if it was implants uh, that were in this thing. And I had to go to the hospital. I was bleeding so bad. And I went to the local sheriff's office to report, what I had found, what had been happening, and they believed me. And
Okay,
I
okay,
showed them the x-rays. Yes,
sorry. Okay, you said a weapon. What do you what? Can you
I'll
describe
show you.
this?
I'll try to show you here. Just bear with me, guys. I keep photos of all this stuff for a reason. Hang on one moment. Okay. Do you see this strand of, it looks like white lights going all around this young man's head? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got it circled in blue. You can see it literally going around his forehead, all right? That is the same thing that wrapped itself around my son's leg and then wrapped itself around my son's penis while he was laying in bed, to the point to where the whole bed was shaking. And I was lucky enough to find a photo of the weapon. I was very lucky to find it. And unfortunately, I found it on the young man's head who was being interviewed by police, who had just killed his classmates. I don't know what it is. I've been told it's a military weapon. Um, Regardless, the sheriff's office took the report. They saw my evidence. I kept having more x-rays done, finding more evidence. And I also noticed when I would sit down or sleep at night, I would see lights in my eyes, um, strange feelings on the body that just weren't normal. And I turned that into police. Um, of course, the sexual assaults and rapes, and a lot of women here in Tennessee are sexually assaulted on a daily basis. I've got a lot of victims here that I stay in touch with that are sexually assaulted every day. I'm one of those women.
So,
Um,
okay,
Device, but is it like a device, like an energetic device, or what exactly was? It's like a just a light that appears.
on the eyes, is that what you're talking about?
Well, you said the lights that went around that guy's head, and you said it was around your son's genitals, and then the leg, right? Is it like an energetic like light that you're seeing, or is it
No,
like it looks like a
no,
physical form, or
it's like a physical weapon. It's a form. I had got up and went to the bathroom. He was very sick. He had like pneumonia and a head cold. And when I come back in the room, they had set up some kind of, I don't know, on my curtain, something that lit up. And then when I got back in bed with him, because, mothers do that when we have small children that are sick, This thing
Yeah.
comes up the bed, and it's in physical form, and wraps around his leg, and then goes around his penis and starts jerking on it. Well, I'm
What?
grabbing pillows and blankets because I don't know what is going
Uh,
on. And I'm trying to shield him from it. And the last thing I remember is taking a cell phone because that's the only thing I had around me, trying to, keep whatever it was off of him. It was sad.
Oh my gosh.
I don't care whose weapon it is. You don't do that to a 6-year-old boy.
So
So
I,
go ahead.
I I'm just trying to. So does it like? What is it like? Obviously, there's something there that wrapped around the kid's head that you could see. So is it like move like a snake or what? Like how
Yes, it does. Yes, it
okay,
does.
all right,
Yes, it
because
does.
so this thing just comes and I mean works its way up and does filth.
But they have control over it, and like I said, goes up his leg, wraps around his penis, and is jerking on it, and it scares me to death. But somebody
Your
has
son,
control of that weapon.
what did your
Pardon?
son say when that was happening? What was your son's
He
reaction to that?
he was sound asleep. He was so sick. I woke him up trying to shield him from it, and he was so sick. He just, bless his heart, he just fell back asleep. There's no way that I could describe, or would I, to a 6-year-old child what just happened.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's burnt into my brain, and I'll never forget it. And it had to be turned in, just like the electronic or the implant, whatever raped me
You
for
you
15 and a half hours.
you were able to take it physically into the police. Like you were able to
Take,
the whatever that thing was.
no, that thing cut off. It shut back off, and I haven't seen it since. I wish
So
I
was it
could
like
have.
it was a physical tool though? So you weren't able to grab at it and try to stop it? Like what exactly? It was like a light that was around.
I wasn't. I was not thinking to grab it. My mind just automatically goes to shield him and his private parts from whatever this is.
Mhm.
Because it
Yeah.
it happened so fast, and I think that was their intention, was to literally scare the hell out of me and do God knows what to him. But my reaction was shield him, get it away, get him safe. You know,
Hmm.
they never expected me to find a picture of it. And the oddest thing happened. I was sitting here watching TV, and this kid that I showed you was being interviewed by police, and this thing was blinking on his head. It blinks. And I'm like, oh
Hmm.
my God, that's the same thing that sexually assaulted my son. That's the identical weapon. So I got a picture of it. I was lucky that it showed up in the video. And I had that evidence to take to police. I mean, they don't know what to make of it. They don't know what it is.
Hmm.
But what got them was 2 days later, they get a phone call from Special Agent Jennifer Peterson in the Air Force, who I had also reported this to because I knew that the Air Force was involved in a lot of this electronic harassment and targeting. And she
Yeah.
calls the same detective that I had spoke to and said, shut her up. And he called me and told me this. And I have a video of him saying this. And he gave her name, and he's like, they called me and told me to shut you up. And I said, I'm not shutting up. My child was sexually assaulted. I was raped. I'm being targeted. I'm not shutting up. You know, 2 days later, 9 police officers show up at my door. And they've been pulling this on victims across Tennessee. And thank God I have been in touch with other victims. And they were like, we need to take you to have an evaluation. And my attorney, I had spoken to my attorney before this happened. And he was like, you are so close to busting this wide open. He was like, don't be surprised if they try to commit you. I was like, okay. And he said, if they come to your door, he said, don't go against them. You listen to what they say. I was like, all right, no problem. So here they come a week later, and I went with them, and I was up at the regular hospital waiting for whatever facility was getting ready to open up. And I get up there, and the doctors start looking at my x-rays, and they realize, wait a minute, she's got implants. We see them. What is going on? And the x-rays weren't normal. And they tried to help me out as far as getting, back home. Well, I go to the facility they're wanting, and I tell the doctors, and I show them. And then one of the doctors who called another targeted individual in Florida, Reginald Dawson, who is a great man. He's had to go in front of the Florida congressman and the board, and he's told his story, and he spoke to the doctor, and the doctor came back and he said, well, I know you're telling us the truth. If you'll just stay quiet, we'll let you go. And I'm like, that's odd. They should be letting me go now. So a couple of days later, I go home. And this is how they've been handling people that come forward about it. There was nothing wrong with me. I have evidence of everything I'm saying. Now I have massive evidence and looking to get it removed. After that, the targeting continued. I have a United States Air Force craft that stays parked outside my home 24/7. It follows me everywhere I go.
Sorry,
Yes.
I get back. Just want to back up here. Um, I had a woman in Florida actually talk to me about something like this happening. So this is not the first time I've heard this. And when you talked about this thing, they used something to assault you for 15 hours?
15 and a half hours, and I'll tell you where it started. This was so violent. It was so violent. I was driving my two teenage daughters on the road, and I got hit with such a force, it felt like somebody had taken a hot knife and shoved it into my vagina. And I was driving, and my children were in the car, and I couldn't scare them. I didn't want to scare them. So I just thought, what in God's name was that? And God, don't let it happen again. And I get home, and it happens again while I'm looking at my 6-year-old son and my husband. So I thought, well, maybe I can get away from it. So then I go to my mother's home. She's lying in bed resting, and it's again. And I'm realizing this is real rape, and I'm bleeding. I go to my son's house, and I told him, I remember telling him, I need your bedroom, just leave me alone. Because I knew what was ever going on. I did not want my children a witness to. And
So
go ahead.
you were bleeding when this was happening.
Yes. Yes.
Did
So it happens all through the night, just hit after hit after hit. Just it feels like a hot knife just being punched into your vagina.
but
And
you was it wasn't like the same was it like the same thing that was dealing with your son, or you didn't see it?
no, you couldn't see this. It was an invisible force, because if I could have seen it, I would have shot it. That's how much pain I was in. I would have shot it. It would have been no different than a man raping me in front of me or on top of me. I would have shot him. That's how much pain this thing, put on me. And I laid there through the night getting hits just over and over. At 7 o'clock exactly the next morning, it stops. My blood flow is like pouring out of my vagina. I go to the local hospital, and they want a cup of urine. I go to the bathroom to pee for them. There's no urine. It is pure blood red blood, and it's a cup that is big and full of blood. So I didn't know what to tell them, because I didn't know what the hell had just happened.
Jesus.
They had scanned me, and they really couldn't find anything. But all I had to go on was what just happened to me and what was coming out of me. And it hasn't happened since. And God help them if it does.
So,
Um,
so you have
it's
you have the medical records of your hospital visit?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, and
And
what did the doctors say?
honey, they didn't really know what to make of it. They really couldn't find anything. There wasn't a reason for it.
But they have on record that you have all this bleeding, and then when you went to pee, you had blood instead of pee.
A bright red cup of blood. just pure blood. And it finally stopped. And I've wondered if that was to try and scare me, which some women, I'm built this way. We're country girls. You hurt us or our kids. We don't get scared. We get angry. So I was very angry about what happened. And I knew that some little sorry soul out here was responsible. I just wanted, that person that had done this. And I still want the person that had done this to me.
The military. You
what
think it's military that's doing this? If they're trying to keep you hush, it's probably the military. I feel like the Air Force does do experiments. I was married to somebody in the Air Force who's told me some things that were very questionable. You look at HARP. I know that man in Florida who shot up the airport the day that they were going to pass less strict gun laws said it wasn't him. Like, he was controlled by something. So you keep seeing this happen where people are doing things, they're not controlled. They're being controlled by something else that's not them.
It's what on us, and it's what we'll go over here in a little bit. It's the stuff that's on us, which I have an excellent record of. But you're right, and not long ago, I have a good friend of mine that's a police chief that has been reaching out to TBI. He even reached out to Cash Patel. He knows what's going on. He's been flooded with phone calls of the same exact thing happening: the sexual assaults, the targeting, the hits, the attacks. And I also have a retired detective that's holding a lot of my evidence for me, who also is fully aware of what's going on. They've known me my whole life. These people know I would never make something like this up. And they also know I'm not crazy. And I'm out for the people that done this to me and my son.
Just wanted to say something here quickly is that when I listen to this, what I'm thinking of is, yes, what's happening to you is wrong. But there's a sick people that are doing this, because
yes,
what
and
kind
not
of
just that, the rape. Go ahead.
What kind of mind do you have to do to, like, because something like this would never enter into my mind, right?
Correct.
You've got to have a mind that is just like,
Sick.
That, yes, a normal human being would never think of something like this. It would never cross their mind. What is motivating people to do this kind of thing? Like, somebody commented saying, "Good morning." Her name's Roxanne. She's like, "What on earth?"
Have you ever seen Handmaid's Tale? This is what they keep.
No, I've never seen it.
Don't waste your time. It's sick. It's where women are treated like dogs and raped and impregnated and told what to do. I don't know if their ultimate goal was to try and make America that way, but it just don't work. We've got too many women getting hurt, too many men that are extremely angry about it. And I know another man where police had went out to his house. This was here in the same city I live in. And am I still here, guys?
Yes.
Okay. And he was being sexually assaulted in his crotch area, and the police come out. He was very uncomfortable with what just happened. He called police. Police come out to talk to him. Now, this happens a lot. And the police basically, I guess, were calling him crazy. He was like, it feels like something electronic is in my crotch. And they wouldn't listen to him. They wanted to, again, go have him committed. So he got angry and I think sprayed one of the policemen with some kind of degreaser or something. But they took the poor man to a facility and had him checked. But, this is never going to be a country where sexual assault is fine. This is never going to be a country where rape or anything else is okay. And, it's still illegal and it happens. And these men need to face justice for what they've done.
Well, what people need to understand, because a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, some people are going to be like, oh, this sounds crazy." But what you have to understand is that for whatever reason, and people use different type, like when I've listened to people, and like, for example, I had a targeted individual talk to me, and he was having the voice to skull, and people thought he was crazy, but then he would drive out of the cell phone tower range, and then the voices would stop. He would drive into the cell phone tower range, and it would start again. So you understand that there's some type of technological thing, but what people need to understand is what they're doing, because regardless of the technology they use, they're trying to drive people nuts. They do it in a manner that people will try to appear crazy when they talk about it, and they do all of these insane things. This is why I I meticulously documented what happened to me and my daughter all throughout these last 5 years, because they were doing things. I have to go back and look at it myself, but it's still the same process, and these people are sick, twisted, and demented.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. And I also found out that this was a federal experiment. I've put this form on my Twitter, which is at Targeted Bitch. That is my Twitter page. Follow me. Anybody that wants to see the x rays, see the lists, all the information's there. And it turns out that everybody in the world is on this list: Department of Energy, United States Air Force, FBI, DEA, you name it. These people are on this experimental list, and they're working with frequencies. Uh, they're working with these weapons. A lot of these people I got on the phone and called didn't even realize that this was even happening. They
It,
were on the list, though. Yeah, I talked to contractors, and the contractors like, look, if you're hearing this stuff, there's got to be like a military grade antenna or something around your house. Um, I can go to places and it's quieter. Uh, but another X-ray that I have showed that I have a radio frequency device on my ear, and it's got an antenna on it. So, I'd have to get this stuff removed to get it out of this stuff to use it as evidence.
well, the first step, what we need before we take a commercial break, is that we need to establish the pattern of behavior. Because when you have the pattern of behavior, you can see a repeatable pattern regardless of the specific technology they use, because they use this very frequently, and they target women more than they target men. And
They're
women will,
easy targets. Yeah.
yes, but women, when they're traumatized, will focus solely on the source of their pain, as opposed to men, which will be able to relay other information of what's being done. These people, they
Right.
study this, they study them very, and they target men and women very differently in the way that
Mhm.
the process that they use. And
Mhm.
so when they get the women that way, and then they get in front of somebody to talk about it, then the people just pressure them and ask the wrong questions. The women break down, or they get angry or whatever, and they brush
Which
them
is
off
Yeah.
as being
also
crazy. This is,
which is
Mm-hmm.
also manipulated.
of course, they
I've
do.
caught
Yeah.
this stuff. Yes, yes.
And I and
The
I
Yeah.
outbursts.
and
Yeah.
I watch police, I watch judge, I watch a lot of people do this, and I'm like, you're asking the wrong questions. You're actually trying to inflame it, and I see this happening over and over
Yeah.
again. And so when you see these types of behaviors, you're going to see this across the board, and you understand that this isn't random happenstance. Then all of
No,
the
it's not.
when you then begin to
It's I mean, a lot more than you think, and it seems like as more time goes on, they're adding more people to the list. Which I'm ready to go. Time to put the brakes on. Time to
yes,
get this mess off of people. Wake up.
we're
Uh,
actually sorry, we
go
just need
ahead.
to take a commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that on the
Go
other
ahead.
side.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Oh, you can't hear
Oh, I'm talking to myself again. So,
you.
if you need the MyPillow products, call 1-800-845-2942 and use the promo code Karis, or go to mypillow.com. Get yourself any of that good stuff that you saw or anything you see on the website, and support a good cause as well. So yes, when you want to, this is why we want to go ahead and make sure that we follow the pattern of behavior along with whatever is going on, because then you can easily match up that behavior. And this is how, like, because they did this the way they did by design, because they want to have plausible deniability. And so, if they have, like, I mean, there's literally hundreds of ways that they approach this using multiple different types of technology. But also, when you look at the more integrated that we have, like the Internet of Things, and have everything connected wirelessly and so forth, this increases the opportunity to do this. Because if you're having all of these remotely controlled devices, having basically walking around in Bluetooth or whatever they're using to do this, just increases the ability to do this type of filth to people.
It does. And not only that, I was a bail bondsman for years, and I studied people. You profile people, you watch people. I'd go to court and watch the defendants come in, and I'd talk to people and watch them. Well, I started noticing a lot of criminal behavior going on here in Tennessee. Like, they're using this stuff to steal land. I know victims that have been murdered. They've used technology to pass through health scans to fake cancers and fake brain diseases and fake things. It's They were using it to put life insurance policies on victims and then collect the policies when the victim died, when they were murdered. And I had more women coming up to me going, "This is happening," and they were picking up on it. So it wasn't just me; it was other people that were also picking up on this. And it's getting to the point to where it's dangerous, because I've turned in these people, I've turned in a company, I've turned in the Air Force, I've even turned in the sheriff's office that got a phone call from Special Agent Peterson and pulled an illegal act for reporting this. And then Cash Patel comes in office, thank you Lord, and he knows what these gang stalkers do. He knows what these people do, and he calls it draining the swamp. The swamp does need to be drained.
Well,
We shouldn't have women sexually assaulted anywhere. Nobody should be raped, and our kids should be safe. We live in the U.S. Our kids should be safe.
But you gotta sit down and think about this whole surveillance program. This ties back to the FBI COINTELPRO program, right? Where they started to, like, monitor what they considered domestic terrorists, like the Black Panthers, like the civil rights movement. They use the KKK and things like this, which the KKK was not a good group. Let's be real. But what they ended up using that to then move it down to civilians that had nothing to do with anything. And then
Exactly.
now then with the formation of the Department of Homeland Security, which allowed them, and September 11th then gave them the vehicle to now start mass surveilling, because they're saying, well, we need to protect against these terrorist threats. We need these new powers. They created the Department of Homeland Security. They created the fusion centers. And now they use all of the three-letter agencies, including the DOD and all these other places, to now surveil for threats. And first of all, the military should never be surveilling. The three-letter agencies should never be surveilling innocent people.
No.
And then they filter it through the fusion centers to the local law enforcement and private agents and different private companies to go after people. And they try to make it legitimize it.
Yeah, this is where the human trafficking comes into play, though. Number one, a 6-year-old or 6-year-old child is not a threat to the U.S. Neither are country girls.
When they get older, they are, though. When they get older.
I've noticed that the victims here in Tennessee, and this is what makes me sick. I've got I've got about 8 victims that are beautiful women that have been targeted, and their families have farms and money. That's where it became a problem. You know, the rape, the sexual assault was bad enough, but that's where it became like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? You know, what idiot is up here hurting people and killing people with this garbage and stealing their land or, insuring them, whatever they're doing at the time. And it's like, where my go to when I grew up and even up until all this started was law enforcement. That's who you go to when someone's out here breaking the law. And if law enforcement can't do anything, FBI can. That's where you go to. So I've reported to both. Uh, I'm still staying on an office in Johnson City that I've actually went to, called, reported, and they
Oh,
have
oh,
done nothing.
oh, Johnson City. Oh,
Yes,
oh, who was the guy that?
Johnson City FBI. I went up there. I have a video on my profile exposing them as being on this list, knowing about this trafficking, knowing what's going on, and they have done nothing. I
John,
also went up there
I,
and met with an agent. Go
I,
ahead.
what's the agent's name?
Rihanna O'Hare.
Oh yeah,
And she sat and looked at my x-rays and heard what I said and done absolutely nothing. She ignored me. She lied to my face too, acting like she didn't know about this. Since then, I have put the video up. I flat out asked them, what are you doing on this list? Why have you all not investigated a sexual assault on a child and a rape? And he cuts off the speaker box. So I go back up there last Monday, and got them on video again. And I'm like, I need to speak with an agent. If these people are going to hide, I'm going to make sure that it's known. And I had reached out to Cash Patel, and Cash Patel had said, a child was sexually assaulted. It needs to be investigated. I told them that. And I swear to you, the lady's like, there's no agents here that can talk to you right now. And I look over in the parking lot, and the parking lot's full, okay? I'm like, okay, well, have them call me because I want to come in and do a sit down, an interview face to face and let them know that. And she's like, okay, haven't received one phone call. That was last Monday. Nobody's called me. Nobody's come to the door.
yes.
Nobody has done anything. So I'm going back up there with my video camera. And until they see me or just keep ignoring me, or until Patel wants to send down real agents, okay, who can back up those badges, then I'll wait on them to come.
The the funny thing is Johnsonville. My daughter brought information about human trafficking and treason to agent in Johnsonville. You know what he did? He's now working with people in Knoxville, Tennessee, who are groomers and they are traitors to this country. And they've been connecting with people throughout the United States and Canada, trying to well, I'm not even just try to murder my daughter, get me and my daughter killed. And
Well, that's funny
yes,
you should say that. That's
yes,
very funny. There's a company that was in Knoxville called Brain Link. Now, listen to the name Brain Link, okay? I've got an
yes,
article also on my profile about this company. They were working out of the Knoxville TVA. They were working with military. The Air Force was helping them down there, and FBI. Tractor trailers were coming in at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I know it was with weapons. And this company is the root of the start of all this problem. And then come to find out, the mesh that I have found on the face, head, and body, this company owns. So I don't know if the Department of Defense got the patent and weaponized it, but that's what I picked up in my x-rays. But that company has also been the root of every single sick act going on here in Tennessee. I know there's other companies in Oak Ridge. I know a man that knew one company, and the outfit was out of France, if I'm not mistaken. And I know they've got 2 computers. I think Lockheed has got 1 computer, and I'm not sure who has the other, hooked to us. And this is where that list comes in. They took down the old power lines, and they're doing this across the nation. They put up new power lines, something about fiber optics and all this stuff. I'm not real good at, I'm not educated on this, the stuff that they're using, but I know that they've got it running into our homes now. That's how you can look up and see this fuzzy energy moving around. You know what I'm talking about? And they've got it putting it up all through the U.S. And, they don't need to be doing that. That stuff don't need to be in our home.
My background is mechanical engineering. I'm a technologist. So understanding this kind of stuff, I have a fair understanding. And I tell people, I said, anything that uses electricity is going to give off electromagnetic radiation. You have to.
And we are electromagnetic beings. We are as science, we are electromagnetic beings. So those things are absolutely communicating with our bodies. When you even the Wi-Fi, things like that, your body feels like it's burning in and out. There's military who have used, they did an experiment on the group of people where they sent out a blast of energy and it made all these people disperse. It's an energetic weapon. So this is, absolutely real.
Yes, we use a lot of electrochemical impulses in our body to communicate different things, like our nervous system. You look at the polarity changes is what makes the impulses flow. And so you don't want to be messing with these things because you can cause problems. And we all know that radiation, it's not rocket science, that radiation is not good for you, right?
No,
so you have to sit down and then understand what the balance is, because we can't just shut off all the energy, because we need to obviously have some power. But when you're inundated like this, like the way that we are in a very unnatural manner, this becomes problematic. And this is where you can see all of the entry points for them to do this. And then when you're talking about the trafficking issue, Tennessee is a hub between trafficking that is disgusting to no end, because you're crossing through some of the biggest trafficking routes that come through Tennessee. And this is why Tennessee is one of the worst places for human trafficking. Then they're going after those women with people who have land, because if you want to redistribute wealth and you want to make people dependent on people, you're going to go after the people who own their property. This is you'll own nothing and be happy. And they're torturing people into
grabs.
Well, yes.
And it's illegal.
It's called slavery. It's peonage. It's violations of the law. You can't take someone's property and drive them into poverty.
Nope.
But they've been doing this since the beginning the United States of America was created. That's what this whole, when you look at the Europeans when they came over here, as much as I used to I've done my research on this, and what they did to the natives, the natural people of this land, the people who actually live and inhabit the earth, not take it over. This has been happening for very thousands of years. I feel like they've been doing these land grabs, and it's all about control. I don't know if it's some type of alien race from another planet that's coming in and doing this, or I don't know. It's there's a lot when you look into it, and what our military is hidden from us. It's very concerning.
Like people say, it's a spiritual war. And it is a war.
Yeah.
It literally is a war. And if you look at what's happening, you see wartime tactics everywhere. And and so what do we have to do? Because sometimes some people get conquered because they were doing worse things. Because some of the native people weren't that innocent. They were sacrificing people and so forth. And that is not acceptable. Not all of them were.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Yeah. So, but these guys came in and they threw out the baby with the bathwater, which you shouldn't do, right? Because if there's a society that's sacrificing children and doing that kind of stuff, well, I don't have a problem with you guys getting some justice, but the innocent people, leave them alone, right?
That's right.
But what they did here is they perfected this type of slavery, and you're right, because if you look at the way the treaties were signed, you have a bunch of people that spoke English. Then you have a bunch of people that don't speak English, and you see a bunch of X's. And then the guys that speak English said, I provided a translator. Trust us, we're telling the truth. That's like giving a child a contract and saying, sign it. They have no capacity because they don't understand it. Right? And This is
Right.
the
That's right.
this is the type of exploitive behaviors that have been formed over hundreds of years to
Mhm.
take the well-intentioned people that came here that were fleeing tyranny to get them back into the tyranny that we're seeing today.
Mhm.
That's a rapist mentality. That's like a pedophile.
It,
I'm straight
it
up
is.
sorry,
We're all being raped out
but they're putting
different
people
ways.
they're putting people in the most vulnerable position. They're isolating them and they're preying on them. That's what pedophiles do.
That's
Yep.
exactly right. That and all this sexual assaults happening, I've sat and thought, are they using this for just psychological beat downs? What is the illness behind this, mess exactly? And I've seen a couple of women, it's damn near broken, you know, which makes me want to tackle, these people even more. Um, it's sick and sad at some of the tricks they've played. Tennessee people, I think people see country people as stupid. We're not stupid. Uh, we're actually very smart people. Uh, I think we've got, good sense as far as how corrupt people are and how far they're willing to go. I think they're more educated than anybody when it comes to a poor person, not just Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky. And it seems like they've targeted these people a lot. So I'm just curious. I don't know if you've seen the videos where Kentucky's damn near empty or the Appalachian Mountains or, it's like, what are you all doing? What are you really doing with this mess? But I've watched good women, beautiful women that had families, beautiful homes, farms, their families get completely, destroyed by these weapons and what they're doing with it. And enough's enough. It's got to stop.
Well, this is really it. This is where you see why they're going after the women. They had to go and break the men first, and they had to do this over a long period of time. And now it's open season on the women because the predatory men that have gotten together, they've picked off a lot of the stronger men one by one, and they break them down, and then they go after the women. Because what are they going to do? If you can't raise proper children, you're going to have a class of people that you can easily control. Think about
Oh, yeah.
plantation families, what they did in the plantations. They want to replicate plantation families over and over.
Just,
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do
I
that.
can't let it go there. I can't, I can't and won't, I won't let it go there. It's sick. It's sick. It was sick then. It's sick now. It's to me, it's just big money bullying their way, anywhere they want to. And it don't work that way.
yes, it is. That's
Well, they're using innocent people
absolutely.
to their defense. I mean, they're turning us against each other and all of that. And you look at all these school shootings and everything else. It makes me wonder how many people are being psychologically controlled by some type of weapon that's causing people to do this. Because who would do the things that are happening unless you were being psychologically controlled? And you have people coming out. You hear about MK Ultra. You hear about all these other government things, these programs and stuff that they've done to humans. Like this is actually, and in the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, that's based on a true story where they actually were able to kill people or kill goats with their minds. So this is not like a hokey pokey whatever. This is science that is actually being done by our military, which is why I don't trust the military anymore. I don't. It worries me the things that they do because they do have the funding for science and all of that to do this behind our backs, and they don't have to tell us the public what they're doing. They could just keep it a secret, and that's very concerning.
I'll put it this way: there are two sides in this thing, and it's like
Mm.
I mean, because not everybody in the military is corrupt, not every person in law enforcement is corrupt, but there definitely are very sick individuals in all of those places, and they work their ways up into this.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only thing that I can describe is they're devil worshippers. If
Yeah.
you they're the only word that I can describe these people is satanic because that's the worst. That's evil incarnate is the devil, and that's what these people are like. They're like children of the devil because you watch these people do things, and the worst possible course of action they can take is what they'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of it has to do with satanic abuse. You
Y-
know, these poor
yes,
kids have been raped since they were little. I mean, I've heard horror stories about some of these kids, and it is so terrible. It is. It's terrible what they've went through. But at what point, does someone finally stand up and go, guys, enough? It's time to find the psychos, and it's time to, deal with them already.
I'm
And
already there. I'm
Yeah, I
yeah,
think a
already
lot of
there.
us are. I think a
yeah,
lot of us are seeing
um,
this happening in their own ways when it comes to like the satanic cult, because I thought it was like celebrities who are doing it. Maybe they are. But I realized that it's actually our hospital systems that were really, and for me going through the medical system as a kid, seeing what I experienced, the way I was touched by doctors, the way my daughter was touched by doctors, it's even though these doctors think they're doing something very innocent, they're all just doing what they're told. Like even down to circumcision. If you look at the original where boys were circumcised, it was the rabbi biting off their
No,
penises, and now you
that is not the way it was supposed to be done. People who
that's
are doing that
that's not
is
the way
nasty.
we're doing. But that was happening, and so now you have these hospitals who are you take away the rights to a human being when you do that without their permission. You're touching the most sensitive part of their genitals. That is for me personally, from researching the nervous system and how it works, and everything that happens from, I think, what is it, 49 days, I believe, after conception is when the nervous system starts developing in the baby, in the fetus, and they start remembering everything from the mother, from all of that. And so I do feel like that is, I know we disagree on this, Dale, but I do feel like the circumcising is definitely causing some type of psychological damage, and it is medical rape. You are not drugging these babies up. You're not, and even if you are drugging them, you should not be giving babies painkillers anyways, because what is that doing to their health and everything else? And so I feel like this is a form of rape. It's happening in all different avenues, whether it's your story, Tanya, or the hospitals, or other people in their homes or foster care, whatever else. The whole system that we're a part of is a human trafficking system, and it's
I
a satanic cult.
it is.
I will tell you right now that any man that tries to put his mouth onto his child's penis to take off, that's nasty. That is
It is
Yeah.
that is beyond
that.
reason. There is
But that's what rabbis are doing.
look,
It's sad.
I will never that for me, that's pedophilia.
Yeah.
That's nasty. I'll just
Yeah.
never ever will I ever defend something like that. That's no.
Well, then with
Mm-mm.
females,
No.
so I don't know if you listen, Muslim countries and females, the female genital mutilation, they take a little razor and they actually cut out the 8-year-old's clit, and they have to wear it on as
that's nasty.
a
That's nasty.
that's what's happening though. I watched a documentary on this, and this is what's happening in other countries. It's happening here. That it's disgusting. You look at what we've done as humans to our children, and it's painful to even think about. Like, how could people be okay with this?
I had a woman that came up from Florida who was also a target, and we went to a man that had a very expensive piece of equipment that scanned the body for radio frequencies, and he scanned us both, and he found implants in the same identical places on each of us. Okay, that's the first time I had met the woman, but identically we had the same thing on. Found out that women are it's the same thing with other victims. Um, he picked up those frequencies, and I've got the implants on x-rays. And a friend of mine come up, and she's a target. She used to work for the CDC. They target her, and she's very smart, and she's got a military tool that she uses that can track the beacons and everything that your implants and all this is hitting you and hooking to. And it's called Blue Hound. It's an app. Download it, scan around your house with it. It's easy to use. Play with it, and you would be amazed at everything you pick up. But even for me, like going to the store, I can get in the store, I can turn this app on. These implants are hooking to every printer device, every cell phone around me. It's like, this is human trafficking at its worst. They're attacking me using this crap, and I'm hooking to every device that I pass in a vehicle. It's sad. It's really sad. But that is trafficking.
Just so
Yeah.
we're running up on time on this segment, so I'm gonna have to close down this segment. We can continue for a bit after to finish off the conversation, but I've got to close this down on right here. So just give people where they can help you, Tanya.
Give them what now?
Tell people where they can find you. How can they help you?
I'm on Twitter. It's at Targeted Bitch. I'm on Facebook. It's Targeted Tennessee. There's a lot of good information on there. There's a lot of good evidence, good X-rays. Uh, Take a look at it. If anybody's got any question, reach out to me on either of those. And I'll be glad to help anybody out. We need to do a part 2 to this show because people need to realize what they're wearing and what is doing this stuff to them. So maybe that's something you can consider, sweetie.
Oh yeah, we will do that. And so forth. And so I'll close this segment here with a prayer and so forth. And thank you for coming. We'll continue this conversation, and we'll put some prayers because we need some more courage in the world to deal with these criminals. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. Open our hearts and minds to your will and help the men to stand up with the women to rebuild our families, our churches, our communities, and our nation, and to deal with these criminals and hold them accountable so that they will face justice and that we would have some protection for the children, is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And thank you for coming, and thank you all for watching, and we will see you again soon. All right.